Hello grade 10s, now we're going to be looking at compound inequalities. Compound inequalities are when there are two inequality signs, so we have three parts to it. It's not really true to call them sides, but we often do 1, 2, 3 sides. And this reads negative 2 is less than 2x minus 1, which is less than 8. Now we can split this up into two parts. We can say, first of all, that 2x minus 1 is greater than minus 2. And then we can take that side and say 2x minus 1 is less than 8. And both of those statements are true. I often refer to these inequalities as like sandwiches, where the x is in the middle of the sandwich like the filling, and then we have numbers only on the outside as the two pieces of bread. Now, we can solve these compound inequalities in two parts, but it's actually easier just to keep it all together and solve it all in one go, as you would with other linear inequalities, and then the rule of what you do to one side, you do to the other side, just becomes what you do to one part, but you do to all three parts. Before we get started, I just want to point out to you that in any compound inequality, whichever inequality signs you have, they should face in the same direction. Otherwise, the inequality won't make sense. For instance, you'd never get one facing this way and the other one facing that way. Right, let's look at our first example. We're going to solve this inequality and we're going to represent our solution on the number line. All right, so we've got 2x minus 1 in the middle. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to try and isolate the x there. Now, the first thing I'd notice is that we've got minus 1. That we want to get rid of, so we're going to add 1, and that means I'm going to add 1 to all three of these sides. So minus 2 plus 1 becomes negative 1. In the middle we get 2x, and on the right we get 9. The next step is going to be that we want to divide by 2, because that's going to give us x on its own, and that means we're also going to divide the other two sides by 2 as well. So here we'll have negative 1/2 is less than x, which is less than 9 over 2. So what this is really saying is x is any number that's in between negative 1/2 and 9 over 2. So when we draw our solution on the number line, we're going to mark off those 2 points, negative 1/2 and 9 over 2, and draw our dots above them. Both of these are open circles because our inequality signs are not showing that they include those values, but we're going to join the dots up so that we can show that x is everything in between those numbers. Right, number 2. We've got 1 is less than or equal to 1 minus 2x, which is less than 7. So we're going to attempt to do this one the same way. We're going to look in the middle of the sandwich, and we're going to see that there's a 1 that we don't need. All right, it's positive 1. Don't get fooled by this minus sign. In front of this is a plus. So we're going to subtract 1 because we're always using inverse operations. So I'm doing that to all three parts or all three sides of this inequality. So on the left-hand side, 1 minus 1 is 0. In the middle, we're left with negative 2x. And on the right, 7 minus 1 is 6. Right, let's go back to the middle again. We've got minus 2x. So we need to divide by negative 2 to get rid of that. So everywhere we're going to be dividing by negative 2. Okay, now 0 divided by negative 2 is still 0. Negative 2x divided by negative 2 is x. And 6 divided by negative 2 is negative 3. we have to be careful because we divided by a negative number. We have to change around our inequality signs. So now we're left with a statement that says 0 is bigger than or equal to x, which is bigger than negative 3. All right, so if we want to, we can swap this around so that the negative 3 comes first because it is, after all, the smaller number. And when we want to draw a number line, remember, you have to draw the number line from left to right, smallest to biggest. So in order to swap this around, you're going to start at the right and work backwards. It's almost like writing the mirror image of what you originally had. Negative 3, because it's a mirror image, the pointy side of the inequality should still be facing the negative 3, then the x, then the pointy side still facing the x of the less than or equal to inequality sign, and then the 0. You don't have to do the step if you feel uncomfortable doing it, but it does help you to set up the idea better for your number line. All right, so let's get to that number line. So we're going to have the negative 3 on the left because it's smaller than 0. And then whichever version you're working from your solution, just make that you're sure that your circles make sense. The x is greater than negative 3. It doesn't include the negative 3, so that is going to remain open. But the x is less than, or it could be including 0, so we are going to color in that circle above the 0, and then we join them up. So x is everything in between those two values and including the 0. Right, now you should be ready to do exercise 7 part C as given in your notes. Good luck everybody, stay safe.